We have come a long way in the recording world since Thomas Edison uttered the words "Mary had a little lamb" back in 1877 and Ray recorded by him in 1927. For a while the cylinder was the carrier of sound. Later, 7/8 RPM and 80 RPM discs were introduced. Some of them were 12 inches in diameter, most 10 inches. The material they were made of was shellac, which could easily break. If a shellac 7/8 RPM record was dropped, it was almost certain that a return visit to the record shop was required to get another copy. Apart from the possibility of breaking the sound carrier, the sound was accompanied by surface noise. The 78 and 80 speed records were first played on wind-up gramophones. The needle had to be changed after each play. You could buy soft, medium and loud tone needles. In the late 1950s and 78 continued to be sold alongside the 7-inch 4/5 RPM vinyl record, which was unbreakable when dropped, but could still break if handled badly. The 78s were phased out, and the 45s, as they were known, carried on with the 10 and 12-inch LP or album. The LP usually carried around 12 songs, 6 per side. There was also the 4/5 RPM extended play record, which carried 4 songs, sometimes 5. In the 1950s and early 1960s, a lot of the labels were colorfully. Electrical Musical Industries EMI, which ran several labels, had a different color for each label. For example, Columbia was green, Parlophone red, and HMV blue. The different colors went in 1963 and all their labels became black. Not half as interesting. This was obviously a cost-cutting exercise. The colors gave each label a touch of individuality. In the 1950s, a number of American recordings were licensed to labels in England. A subsidiary of Decca Records, London American, released under license a great number of American recordings made by various American record companies. For example, Delphi Records, which released Ritchie Valens' Donna/La Bamba. The London label was black. Later it was silver and black, stating London American Recordings. British artists covered a lot of American songs. Philips recording star Marty Wildreg-Smith did a number of covers, which included Donna and Teenager in Love, originally recorded by Americans Diane and the Belmonts. Another British singer, Craig Douglas Terry Perkins, covered several on the Top Rank label, including Teenager in Love and Only 16, originally done by Sam Cooke. Tommy Steele Tommy Hicks, on Decca, covered the Guy Mitchell number Singin' the Blues. In the 1960s, Woolworths sold records under the Embassy label. These were hit tunes, but not the original artist. They were cheaper than original versions, so allowing people on low budgets to have the latest offerings. At one time the dominant name on the label was the record company. The publisher was listed with the year of release. Just below the hole used to place the record on the platter was the name of the song, and below this in brackets was the name of the composer. Usually only the surname was shown. This seemed to indicate that the composer wasn't considered of great importance, which of course he/she was slashes. Below the composer's credit was the singer's name. Some record companies had a slogan. Pi Records' slogan was "Spin with the Stars." In the 1950s and 1960s, record shop customers could listen to records in a little booth before deciding if they wanted to buy. This was a good idea, but played records could be sold as new. Most record players in the 1950s and 1960s were mono single track. One of the most popular machines was the Dansette. Some machines were fitted with an auto chainer and were capable of playing up to 10 records. However, if you valued your collection, you wouldn't do it that way because the records dropped onto each other and could be easily scratched. Also back then, the radiogram was popular. They made a nice piece of furniture. The sound was usually better than a record player, and some were equipped for stereo sound. Reel-to-reel tape recorders were introduced in the 1950s. The machines usually had several speeds for recording. Included on the more expensive machines was speed 7.5 inches per second for good quality music recording. Some albums were released on reel-to-reel and could be played at the slower speed of 3 3/4 inches per second. 1963 saw the introduction of the audio cassette, invented by Philips. At first the quality wasn't regarded good enough for music, only running at a speed of just over 1 inch per second. Tape improved and some recorders were equipped with Dolby noise reduction, a system invented by the late Ray Dolby. The recorders were equipped with the Dolby B and C system. Chrome and metal tapes came on board, allowing better quality. Once quality was good enough for music, albums would be released on LP and cassette at the same time. Another sound carrier was the 8-track player, often installed in cars. This operated by a loop system, but the sound quality wasn't that good. Albums were released on this system, which didn't last long. Until the early 1970s, all singles 45s were released in mono only. From the 1950s, LPs were released in both mono and stereo. By the 1970s, stereo became the norm, and mono versions disappeared. In the 1970s, quadraphonic records made an appearance. The players were expensive and the discs in short supply. This system was soon to become history. CDs arrived in 1983, and at first the sound quality was toppy. Some say they prefer vinyl, because they say it is a warmer sound. One of the reasons I like the LP vinyl record is because they often had excellent sleeve notes and glossy photographs. CD cases easily break, and the removable notes can be easily torn. Another short-lived sound carrier was digital compact cassette DCC, another Philips invention, and marketed in 1992. Also there was digital audio tape deck, which also had a short life domestically, but carried on being used in professional recording studios. There was Minidisc, a system by Sony that hit the market in 1992. These were similar to CDs, but smaller. They were used a lot in broadcasting, as you can get great recording and playback. New Minidisc machines are now hard to find, but the discs are still obtainable. The Apple iPod was introduced in 2001 and is still going strong today. Thousands of songs can be downloaded in MP3 format, which compresses the music, but most people don't notice, as iWrite vinyl is making a comeback. We have come a long way since the cylinder was introduced. What will be the sound carriers of the future?